Good evening, YouTube. DutyRon, thank you for joining the channel. Welcome in. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you guys are watching from. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I definitely did. It was a good weekend for me. So I just wanted to come live here tonight, say hello. I promised a couple of people I was going to come on with some updates, and here we are. Live. I'm gonna make this quick though. I'm gonna try to consolidate it into a short period of time. Hi Meg, how are you? Good evening. Hope you had a good weekend. I know it's a little bit earlier where you are, but I'm getting ready to head to bed. Try to pack it in before 12:15. Hope you're doing good. Hello, Guy and Jackie. How are you? Raquel, Crystal, Asta, Janice, Cup of Joe, Rain Dancer. How are you? How have you been? Haven't seen you in a long time. Thank you for joining. Good to see you. Good to see you. So guys, we are tomorrow. Tomorrow, the jury was supposed to deliberate. The closing arguments were going to be heard between the defense and the prosecution to wrap it up. To charge the jury and send them off for deliberation. There's been a little snafu in regards to this, so let me just quickly invite some followers. Let me invite some people. Hello, Chris. Good to see you, Chris. Hi, Pam Z. Good to see you. Pammy's B. Cindy, thank you for joining. Andrea, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Let's see what's happening here. Who else is here? Gail is here. Joey is in the house. Good to see you, Joey. Thank you for joining. Hi, Tori. Good to see you, Tori. Good evening. Good evening. Hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed my broadcast from Dumbo over in Brooklyn. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. So good to see everybody here and now. So we got some breaking news in regards to this case. Karina Vetrano was a 30-year-old jogger who was killed while out on an evening jog. She was killed while she was out on an evening jog, and unfortunately, the family, the parents, the mother, father, have been dragged through two trials. The first one was a hung jury, and now they're going through it again. So I'm not going to go to the courthouse tomorrow because I don't think anything's going to happen tomorrow. We have a situation. We have a situation where there's going to probably be what they call a Brady hearing tomorrow. It's going to be kind of bullcrap because I'll tell you really quickly what happened. I'll give it to you verbally, and then I'll show you a little clip. I'll give it to you verbally, and then I'll show you a little clip of what's going on. But essentially, the defense, which is the Legal Aid Society, the defense received an anonymous letter. The defense received an anonymous letter mailed to, hi Gayla, how are you? Hold on, let me see. I was having technical difficulties, so I couldn't see all the chat. All right, so Tori's here. Pam, I said hello to you. Rain Dancer, haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad that you're here. I hope you're okay. Kelly K, Michael Dennis is here. Cindy, good to see you. Raquel again. Aaron, I promised you I was going to go live tonight, so I'm here to deliver the goods. Jarvis, thank you so much for going in, for coming in here. I am not going to the courthouse. Gayla, love and respect to you. Hello, Taco. Feisty Taco is here. So yeah, the parents have been dragged through it. I'm all caught up now on the chat. So those of you who are joining that don't know me, my name is DutyRon. Ron. I am a retired New York City police detective, and I've been covering the Karina Vetrano trial. Karina Vetrano, again, was a jogger, 30 years old, health and fitness guru. She was a speech pathologist. She had a master's, I believe, in speech pathology. She was brutally beaten, sexually abused, and killed while out on an evening jog August 2nd of 2016. The NYPD, the very police department that I work for, worked so hard on this case to bring justice to the family. It took 6 months to make an arrest, and the arrest that we made was positively ID'd through DNA evidence. The defendant in this case was arrested through DNA evidence, and also through various other electronic evidence that you guys will come to see. I have a ton of videos on it. If you look at my replays, it will show you. So at the end of the day, the first trial resulted in a hung jury. 7 of the jurors said guilty, 5 said not guilty, but the judge, Judge Aloise, did not give the jury foreman enough time to deliberate. They expressed their frustration, the first jurors. They felt that they could have came to a verdict, and it was ruled a hung jury too fast. And the judge also admits to that as well. He took a lot of flack for it in the court circuit. So amongst his peers, he was talked about, and there's many articles if you want to read about it, about Judge Aloise. So at the end of the day, guys, the new trial started this month, and they closed up. They wrapped it up on Friday. Thursday, actually, they wrapped up the closing. Everybody had all of the evidence given. I went to the first day, and I listened to the opening statements from the prosecution in the first row. I listened to the opening statements from the prosecution, and then I also listened to the defense opening statements. And what I gathered from what I heard on day one, what I heard, guys, on day one was basically the prosecutor had spelled out for 2 hours to the jury that 600 DNA swabs, 600 DNA 600 DNA samples were taken by detectives over the course of 6 months. That's 100 a month. So they were going through all past criminals, random people, friends from her social media, asking people if they would volunteer to give their DNA, and people did it. They got 600 DNA samples. I heard this out of the prosecutor's mouth, and to me, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of people. It was extensive detective. That's why the detectives that were on this case, it was a force, the task force that was assigned to this case. It was literally hundreds of detectives that were working on this case, doing like legwork and bird dogging and stuff like that. Hello, guys. Hi. I'm just in the middle of a thought, so just hold any questions directed at me, because I'm not going to be looking at them. So if you want, at the end of this, I'll give you like 5 or 10 minutes of question, Q&A. So let me just get out what I want to get out. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. I just wanted to share it on Twitter, and that's what I just did. I just shared on Twitter. Guys, if you don't mind, share it on your social media. Send it out to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever social that you use. I greatly appreciate that. A task force was created to do the investigation, to help, including my unit, the Warrant Squad, the New York City Police Warrant Squad, which is part of the Detective Bureau, the Fugitive Enforcement Unit. We were tasked at going after all of the sexual predators, all of our open domestic violence cases, all of the violent felony assault warrants. We were to go back on all those cases and look and try to interview people, just to get people interviewed and ask questions. Now, Jarvis, this is something that would have been done anyways, irregardless of the father. See, the fire department and the police department are two separate entities, but there is a brotherhood there. There may be, this case might have gotten a quick helicopter up in the air as an extra because of the father with the fireman, but the helicopter would have went up anyways on any case. They maybe got the dogs out there quicker to search, because the father knew a chief, but there was nothing, nothing that wouldn't have been done for just a regular case. It just might have gotten done a little more expeditiously. Anyways, let's put that aside. So, 600 DNA swabs were taken over the course of 6 months. There were no suspects. There was no DNA matches. This woman, 30 years old, fought her attacker, vicious attacker. She fought him off because she was so physically fit, and she was able to scratch the defendant, scratch him with her nails. And when the autopsy was done, the medical examiner clipped her fingernails and was able to obtain DNA. But those DNA samples were not brought to light until, I think, week number 2. So in the first week, because there was no suspects and there was nothing to go on, no witnesses, nothing, detectives had to try to form some type of game plan, if you will. So they looked at the injuries to the victim, which were violent. She was beaten about the face. Her teeth were broken in the front. She sustained severe trauma to her face. She was beaten so badly. I saw the crime scene photos. I was not, it takes a lot to make me say, whoa. I was taken back by the photos, the crime scene photos that I saw on day one. And they weren't even the whole array of what they showed mid-trial. Mid-trial, they had more explicit photos, but I saw 3 crime scene photos, and that was enough for me to determine that she was beaten by somebody who was really angry and that really beat her quite a bit. Facial trauma about the body, at the neck, all bruising. Her jogging shorts were pulled completely off one of her legs. Her sports bra was pulled down past her belly button, so it was down towards her pelvic region. In other words, ripped all the way down. The defense was saying that her shorts and her top came off because she was dragged into the weeds, and it wasn't a sexual offense. But the medical examiner, hi Tanya, the medical examiner said there was lacerations to the vaginal area and her anus. To get lacerations in there, you need some type of penetration. Doesn't have to be by a penis. It could be by a foreign object, a finger, who knows, a stick, anything. We don't know what happened there, but we know forensics-wise that she was assaulted sexually. Okay, so putting all of that aside, she scratched and fought her victim, the perpetrator of this crime. She, as the victim, tried valiantly to fight off this guy scratching, and they were able to take DNA from under her fingernails when the medical examiner clipped them. I heard the testimony from the medical examiner, and it was very, very, it was very detailed. It was very detailed. So at the end of the day, for the first 2 weeks, they didn't know whether it was black, white, Hispanic, anything. They had no makeup on this guy, on the perpetrator. So the detectives had to go on what they saw injury-wise to the body, to the victim. So the very early synopsis was we were looking for someone that was strong, possibly bodybuilder, possibly a bigger, stronger person that would have inflicted this much damage just on a hunch, this much trauma to a body. So that was the early hunch, and that was just a hunch. So they were trying to go through to all the gyms in Howard Beach. They were going to LA Fitness and just looking, just detective work. This is what detectives do. So as we know, 6 months later, through the DNA match underneath from her fingernails, on her cell phone, and around her neck, there was all DNA around her neck from sweating because it was August. DNA from sweat on the cell phone, and then DNA underneath her fingernails. They went on, again, on a hunch from a previous report. We talked about this. I don't want to go into real details, but they were able, through very good police work, backtrack to a possible person. It was just a needle in a haystack. They went to this guy's house. They asked him for a swab, a DNA swab. He agreed to it, and it was 100% match. I think it was 9 trillion to 1. The chances of this not being the defendant, it was 9 trillion. 9, not million, not billion, 9 trillion to 1. So it was a 100% match. They had an arrest. They made the arrest. So what's happened is, now that everything is rested, we were supposed to charge the jury tomorrow, and the jury was supposed to go and deliberate. I got word that the jury started deliberating already, but that, I don't know. I don't know that to be true. So there's a chance the jury started deliberating, but I don't think so. So I think starting tomorrow, the jury was supposed to hear the closing from both sides. There's no more evidence, and basically, just as they summed it up in the beginning, they finish it up at the end. The defense, the prosecution goes first, and the defense goes last. But what happened is, somebody mailed an anonymous letter. Now hear me out. Somebody mailed an anonymous letter to the Legal Aid Society. That's the defense team defending this perpetrator. And the anonymous letter stated that the police department had looked for male white bodybuilders in the beginning of the investigation, which was probably true. That's what the narrative was in the beginning. They were looking for somebody strong, but it didn't. I don't think it said male white. It just, we're looking for bodybuilders. And in Howard Beach, in that area, that's the makeup of the residents there. So it's a very white neighborhood, if you will. This anonymous letter was sent to the Legal Aid Society, and they said that the detectives and that the police department gave this to the prosecution, and the prosecution held it from them. So they're looking for what they call a Brady hearing tomorrow. And what a Brady hearing is the defense goes to the judge and says, hey, judge, I got word there's this bullcrap anonymous letter that was sent. And I have a feeling the anonymous letter was sent. The anonymous letter was sent by someone from 100. There was a guy at the opening when I went the first day. I saw him. He's the president of 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. That's a line group off of the police department. You know how, like, they have the Latino Officers Association, they have the Italian American, they have the Irish American, they have the Emerald Society. So it's one of those line organizations within the NYPD. And he was there because I saw him and I heard him talking to the Lewis family. So I have a feeling that this came from that side, because it's supposedly a retired detective wrote this letter to the Legal Aid Society, like, hey, there's information that the prosecution didn't give you. So, yeah, exactly. 2 jacked up white guys. That's all that, I mean, if you're going to look for people within that neighborhood, that's the only makeup in Howard Beach. It's like 99% white. There's no other demographics to look at in that neighborhood. So just let me put everybody's mind at ease right there. So anyways, what I want to say is that this is not going to matter, because there's no rhythm or rhyme to how an investigation goes, and if you don't have somebody in custody, it's not going to affect what the outcome is of a trial. The Legal Aid Society, the defense attorney, the team is just trying to create doubt. And I don't think it's going to fly in this, because I feel that the judge is just going to decline them and throw this, like, tomorrow's Brady hearing is just going to be a formality. And I feel that it's just still going to go forward, and that the jury is going to get charged with deliberations. So So let me play a clip for you guys about this. This is a very small clip. Just let me play it for you. I'll get it up real quick, and you guys can listen to this. Here we go. So grin and bear this for me. I think it's about a minute. I think it's around a minute, guys. So hold on a second.
New York's most advanced newscopter just got better. Newscopter 7, now with crystal clear pictures from Extreme Vision, plus the most advanced aerial mapping system, Street Spotter 7.
Something you can only see from Newscopter 7.
New York's best breaking news reporters in the air.
Right,
When
once this
covering
is
New
done
York,
playing,
nobody keeps up with Newscopter 7. Nobody. Only on Eyewitness News.
Defense lawyers for the man now being retried in the murder of Queens jogger Karina Vetrano are arguing that prosecutors withheld crucial evidence from them. Now, that includes what they are calling a race-biased dragnet. Now, they say they learned only recently that police took DNA samples from at least 360 black men who had been previously taken into custody in parts of Brooklyn and Queens. The lawyers tell the New York Times they will file motions tomorrow seeking a hearing to determine if prosecutors hid evidence favorable to the defendant, Channel Lewis.
In times of change, when passions run high.
Okay, so that's basically it in a nutshell, guys. That's basically it in a nutshell. They're trying to throw the jury off. They're trying to create reasonable doubt, reasonable suspicion to believe that there's something funny going on, and that's not the case. It's the furthest from the case. I have a feeling when they do go for this hearing to get that information revealed, that the judge is gonna decline them. That's how I feel. I don't know that that's exactly how it's going to happen, but that's what they're trying to do. I feel like if they they called no witnesses and their back's against the wall, and I think that they really are just scratching here, because an anonymous letter, really, come on, an anonymous letter just comes out of nowhere on the last day when they close their arguments. The guy's in jail. He's been in jail for 2 years. This is dirty defense tactics at its best, guys. But I got to tell you, I feel very confident that the judge is going to not grant them the Brady hearing, and that's the hearing. Hello, Christina64. Starlight, good to see you. Can you check Twisted True Crime? I don't know, what is that, Starlight? I don't know what that is. Cat in a Hat, good to see you. DNA does speak the truth. DNA does speak the truth. Black Rose, thank you for all the for posting all the links. Let me look back at some of the chat. Let me look back at some of the chat real quick. So you guys get the idea. You guys get the idea. This jacked up 2 white guys that they were looking for in the beginning part of the investigation doesn't mean ngats. This means nothing. This means nothing. There's nothing. They could have been looking for 2 Chinese guys. They could have been looking for anybody. At the end of the day, they swabbed 364 black males. They swabbed DNA, 364 black males during the course of that 6 months. And the rest of them were a mix of white, Asian, Hispanic, and a whole other mix. So this doesn't mean anything. Do they have to be present, this anonymous letter? No. It's an anonymous letter. It means that I could have wrote this letter. Somebody from the UK could have wrote the letter. It could have just been anybody. An anonymous letter is exactly what it is, an anonymous letter. They don't know where it came from. They're speculating that it came from a retired detective that used to work in the police department. And it makes me think that if it was somebody from the retired detective from the police department, it had to have been somebody in the 100 men in black law enforcement, because they were there at the trial. The president was there consoling the defendant's family. It made me sick, actually, to my stomach when I saw it. As a retired detective, I can talk freely about this, and those guys, that to me is just a travesty of the Justice Department. It's a travesty and a disgrace to the NYPD to have someone from a line organization, whether he's retired or active or not, He'd had to have been retired to be there consoling that family. So when I saw that, it made my stomach turn, but I just bit my lip and didn't say anything. So what smells fishy to you, Guy and Jackie? What are you referring to that it smells fishy? It is Karina. It's in my title, Kim. Karina Vetrano. Vetrano. Karina Vetrano. The defendant is the perpetrator is Chanel Lewis. The perpetrator is Chanel Lewis. For those of you who want to look him up. For those of you who want to look up that filthy, disgusting animal. Thanks for the inside scoop, says Miss Coley. You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm just going to take a couple of questions. If anybody has Q&A, I will answer any questions within reason. I'm not going to answer questions that I feel are unreasonable. I won't answer silly questions. So if you guys want to ask any questions, I'm good to go for it. Who names their kid Chanel? I don't know, Jarvis. I don't know. But to each their own. So is the jury now deliberating? I got news that they are, but the news is saying that they're not. What happens at this kind of hearing? The defense, Tori, very good question, by the way. The defense brings the letter to the judge, and they say, Your Honor, we want to ask the prosecution if they were holding any evidence from us, and the prosecution's going to say no, and then the judge is going to say, done. It's just a formality. It's a formality that they're going to go through. Hi, Hio, how are you? The letter and that appears all smells fishy. It's all fishy. It's a tactic to create doubt. It's a tactic to throw off the jury, to make them... The jury probably knows nothing about this because this all developed over the weekend. So the jury probably knows nothing about it. Yeah, they played the race card. They're playing the race card right till the bitter end here on this. They're playing the race card to the bitter end on this case, guys. So tomorrow it's going to be a formality, and if the prosecution says, yeah, we have this extra evidence, which I know they won't, because if they were holding evidence back, it could be a mistrial again. It could be, it could be bad. So I know they're not going to say that they were holding back evidence, and I know they're not stupid enough to do that. They're not stupid enough to hold back evidence, guys. So I know what's going to happen here. I know what's going to happen, and I'll let you guys know first thing tomorrow as soon as I get the word from my source down at the courthouse. I'll let you know. I'll let you guys. You guys will be the first to know as soon as I get it. They protect the perpetrator. Well, Cheryl, the job of a defense attorney is to defend their client. You know what I mean? So that's how our justice system works. You are, you're innocent until proven guilty. And that's how it goes. So you have defense attorneys that'll try to defend the worst of the worst because that's their job. And this is how the wheels of justice goes, guys. So sometimes it seems like it's not fair, but that is the case. Please read my 31-year-old cousin killer verdict going to be given tomorrow in court. All you can. Please pray for Tim gets justice. I hope they get justice for Tim. I do hope. My 31-year-old cousin's killer's verdict going to be given tomorrow. What state is that going to be in so I can maybe monitor that, or you'll let me know by email what happens? I'll say prayers before I go to bed tonight. I will say prayers. Pulling anything out of their arse just to try and show doubt. That's what their job is, and that's what this is. A bullcrap anonymous letter, supposedly coming from a retired cop. Ridiculous. Ron, do you follow at Tori Hartman? Michael Dennis calling. Not only do I follow at Tori Hartman, I am obsessed with her. I think she's adorable. I think she's awesome. I think she's smart. I think she is all of the above. And I think anybody that is not following or subscribed to her is missing out. They're missing out on some great content. So, hi, Winky. How are you? Winky, I caught up on all your replays. So I'm all up to date on everything Winky Whispers right now. This is New York lady that all happened to, and it's only on your local channels. This is a New York lady. This is a New York victim from Queens. Yes. So I follow Tori. She's good. Yes, she's awesome. She's awesome. No. You've earned that. I'm not being kind at all. I'm just being truthful. You know, this is my analogy of watching Tori. She's awesome. I hope to get to meet her one day. I know she's coming to New York this month, or in April. We're already into April. The Mets lost in the 9th inning. Yes, they lost. Let me see what else I got. Let me see what else I got for you guys. All right, let's play this. Let me play this for you guys. Just to give you guys a little bit of insight here.
Without bail after a breakthrough in a months-long investigation into the alleged murder of a jogger. Chanel Lewis was arraigned in a New York court yesterday. He is charged with second-degree murder in a connection with the death of Karina Vetrano. Vladimir Duthier of our streaming network, CBSN, shows how DNA and an old tip helped police find the suspect. Vlad, good morning.
Good morning. Investigators went to question Chanel Lewis last Thursday on the 6-month anniversary of Karina Vetrano's death. He now faces a possible sentence of 25 years to life in prison.
Why'd you do it? Why'd you kill her?
Chanel Lewis was visibly stunned as he was led to court Sunday. Police say evidence links him to the murder of 30-year-old Karina Vetrano.
Over 250 leads were received from the public, and over 1,700 investigative reports were prepared.
On August 2nd, Vetrano went for a jog near her home in Queens, New York. This video obtained by Crime Watch Daily shows a 30-year-old running on the street moments before she was killed. Vetrano's father, Philip, found her body along their normal jogging route, face down in a marsh.
We've been in a state of shock for 6 months.
It had to be a random,
wrong mother and father
at the wrong time. You know, she was unlucky that day.
At one point, it seemed the case had gone cold.
She had the DNA under her nails. She had touch DNA on her back, and there was more DNA on the cell phone.
Then, police caught a break. A 911 call placed 20-year-old Chanel Lewis in the area of the murder months earlier. Though he had no criminal history, police interviewed him.
We went to his house. He freely gave a buccal swab of his DNA to us. Lewis was interviewed by detectives and made detailed, incriminating statements and admissions.
Police say the DNA was a match and that Lewis confessed. On Sunday, Vetrano's parents encountered him for the first time when he was arraigned.
He's a demon! He's a demon!
Chanel's father, Richard, was shocked by his son's arrest.
He's a great guy, and he's not the person who would have done what they say.
Vetrano's parents say that a more extensive DNA search called familial testing could have solved the case quicker. The process searches a large DNA database of crimes committed, looking for likely relatives of an assailant. Critics say it is an invasion of privacy. A state commission in New York is set to meet later this month to discuss whether or not familial DNA testing should have been permitted.
I feel so much for the parents that had to come face to face with the man they believe murdered their daughter that way. It's a heartbreaking story.
Good police work, though.
Yeah, they did incredible police work. The NYPD.
Bravo to them for that.
Thank you, Vlad.
Begno reporting tonight from New York.
So, guys, that just gives you a little bit of background on this case. Just gives you a little bit of some of the a little bit extra, you know, to just get you up to speed of what's going on. I'll play this real quick for you guys too. This is somebody who called in. This was one of the leads that led to his arrest. These 2 voice calls that came into 911 for a suspicious. This was a suspicious person call on Memorial Day weekend in 2016. Right here, Kathy. I'll tell you right after this. Oh, this was all.
The emergency.
This is the 911 call.
Where's the emergency?
It looks like a kid. Looks like he was robbing a house. Came out of the backyard twice. Somebody's backyard.
What's the location?
He's Howard Beach, New York. Right now, he's sitting on the curb. He definitely don't belong there.
Okay, is he black, white, Hispanic, Asian?
He's black.
What's he wearing?
He's African American, white sweatshirt, black pants with a hood.
I'm sorry, what color is his shirt?
White sweatshirt, hoodie.
White sweatshirt and the white sweatshirt and the hoodie, or is the hooded sweatshirt?
Well, the hooded white hooded sweatshirt.
Okay, what color pants?
Black pants. And now he's sitting in front of the house. I see him going in and out of the backyard twice.
Okay.
It looks like he has a crowbar on the floor.
So he's going to be there as soon as possible, okay?
Somebody, my neighbor here is telling me that he was walking around yesterday, too.
He was also there yesterday?
Yeah, he was walking around yesterday over here.
Okay, sir. I'm definitely going to make a note of that.
New York City murder case making national headlines. The female jogger killed while running near her home. The victim's mother now coming face to face with the suspect in court. Here's ABC's Mara Scavocampo.
Now, why'd you do it? Why'd you kill her?
Tonight, a break in the 6-month-old case of Karina Vetrano. The NYPD now charging 20-year-old Chanel Lewis with second-degree murder. Police saying he beat and strangled the 30-year-old while she was out for a run in August. Her final moments captured on this surveillance video.
Demon! Demon!
Vetrano's mother shouting to the suspect in the courtroom. Police gathered 600 DNA samples, but say they cracked the case when an officer from the area recently recalled police stopping a man for suspicious activity in the spring. That led to Lewis, who they say voluntarily gave a DNA sample and confessed to the crime.
This case was very similar to a needle in a haystack.
Lewis, who has no criminal record, attended a school for students with special needs. His family says he's being framed.
The cops are setting him up. The cops need to go do their job and find the real killer.
David, Lewis has not yet entered a plea. He could face 25 years to life if convicted. David?
Mara Scavocampo with us tonight. Thank you, Mara.
The parents of a New York woman sexually assaulted and killed while jogging, coming face to face with her alleged killer in court. After months of searching for what officials described as a needle in a haystack, one officer's hunch finally led police to a suspect in this violent crime. Here's ABC's Mara Scavocampo.
This is the last known footage of Karina Vetrano. Surveillance video taken just moments before the 30-year-old New York City woman was beaten and strangled to death while on a late afternoon run.
We need to find this predator.
Now, more than 6 months after the grisly murder,
Now, why'd you do it? Why'd you kill her?
police say they found the needle in the haystack, tracking down the man they believe is responsible. 20-year-old Chanel Lewis lived 3.5 miles away from the crime scene with his mother.
Follow-up investigation developed forensic evidence linking him to the crime. Lewis was interviewed by detectives and made detailed, incriminating statements and admissions. Charges are now pending. This is a very good day for justice in New York City.
Back here at home, the mystery murder of a jogger killed in New York City.
Back in August, the New York City murder grabbed national headlines. The story of the beautiful young woman with a large social media following, never to be seen alive again.
Right now, there's evidence of strangulation, asphyxiation.
She just never stopped smiling over the course of 4 years that I knew her.
She lit up the room when she walked in.
Her father, her usual running partner, stayed home that day because of a back injury. He grew concerned after he couldn't reach his daughter shortly after she set out on her run. The retired firefighter calling the police and joining them on the search for Karina. He was the one to find her body, face down in a marsh, 15 feet away from the trail, just 4 hours after she left her home.
It is wrong to kill an innocent young woman.
Vetrano's mother issuing a fiery promise to the killer.
I guarantee you, you will pay forever.
We also have DNA from her fingernails, probably the strongest we have.
Despite frequent pleas to the public for help and a reward of almost $300,000, the case went cold.
And I am right now a broken woman. But I will state this. I have 110% confidence that this person will be caught.
Seeing him, he's a demon. He's a demon.
Vetrano's grieving parents in court Sunday at Lewis's arraignment. Her distraught mother shouting to the suspect in the courtroom. Police say Lewis has no criminal record and had never even met Vetrano before that August afternoon. The motive? Police say a chance encounter with a man they call, quote, unhinged.
We have had a lot of leads in this case, and each one was vetted painstakingly by detectives. Long case.
The NYPD says they received over 250 leads and tested over 600 DNA samples, each one a dead end. But one cop's hunch broke this case wide open. Lieutenant John Russo recalls seeing a man he saw near the crime scene months before the murder.
One of my lieutenants who works in my office lives there. He followed up on a memory of his when someone was stopped for suspicious behavior in that community. We started to look at Chanel Lewis even tighter, and we started to see some things that disturbed us.
Police pored over old complaints, discovering a 911 call from the spring. They say that gave them Lewis's name, which led them to 3 prior summonses, all connecting Lewis to the area. Authorities first met with Lewis last Thursday at his apartment, where they say he voluntarily submitted to a DNA test, which came back as a match to DNA discovered at the crime scene.
You got to remember, Karina helped us identify this person. She had the DNA under her nails that we got it from her.
We spoke to former NYPD Detective Nick Casale about the case.
She reportedly put up a very strong fight, and they said there was DNA under her fingernails. How important is something like that to an investigation?
The DNA evidence that they were able to gather at the crime scene from the victim and around the victim was matched against databases.
There was not a match.
There were no matches on known DNA files.
Then what?
Well,
when there's no match, where do you go from there?
Detective work. Nobody didn't get looked at. As we say in Brooklyn, everybody was given that once over.
And on Saturday, Lewis was taken into custody.
These things take time. Difficult cases, but you don't stop. There's a resilience here and vigilance here every day that they did, and that's what solved the case.
Police say Lewis allegedly gave multiple detailed incriminating statements to officers while in custody and is now charged with second-degree murder.
In this case, 6 months go by without any major break. How much pressure does that put on a police department in a high-profile case like this?
Sadly, it puts a lot of pressure, and rightfully so. The people want to know, the media wants to know, to tell the people. The family, first and foremost, wants to know.
And how certain are police that they've got their man now?
I think that they're very certain. They had enough to make the arrest, and now the community should be safe and the family should be relieved.
Police also say Vetrano was sexually assaulted, but Lewis has not been charged with sexual assault, and police say has denied any suggestion of that.
This case is in its infancy. Typically, prosecutors bring holding charges, but it is quite possible, and it's often the case, that the sexual assault charges and other charges will be brought in later.
Lewis attended a school for students with special needs. His family is adamant about his innocence.
He's a wonderful young man. Wonderful young man.
The cops is setting him up. The cops need to go do their job and find the real killer and take my brother out of jail. He's a black man. Because he's a white person, they're framing my brother.
The Legal Aid Society, who will represent Lewis, saying in a statement, "We're spending this critical time getting to know our client and his family and reviewing all the facts associated with this case. We caution everyone, including the media, not to rush to immediate judgment. Mr. Lewis is entitled to fairness and due process."
What I think is the biggest concern here.
All right, I've heard enough of this. I've heard enough of this nonsense. So, basically, guys, this is the thing, okay? So you heard basically it went over the whole case, but what they didn't tell you is that the detectives, when they arrested Chanel Lewis in February of 2017, when they arrested Chanel Lewis, what they didn't tell you here, and you won't hear it in any of the news reports, is that on his phone, she was murdered August 2nd, 2016. On August 2nd, 3rd, and I think the 5th, The second, the day of the murder, the third, the next day, the fifth, and the sixth, this guy was downloading on his phone pictures of this deceased, of the actual victim he killed. He was taking her pictures and uploading them onto his phone. And he was also uploading suggestive things like, how does a police investigation work? Things of that nature. But then it gets even worse. When they come to his house and they swab him for the DNA, it took 2 days for the DNA to get processed, so they didn't arrest him. They couldn't arrest him. So during those 2 days after the detectives came and swabbed him, he started Googling on his phone, what is DNA? Is DNA definite? What is a prosecutor's job? Is there a death penalty in New York State? What's the sentencing for murder, first and second degree? Is DNA definitive? So why is this guy Googling all this stuff if he's innocent? So here's additional information that you won't hear the news talk about, but I heard it in court. I heard the prosecutor for 2 hours talk to the jury and tell the jury that they swabbed and took 600 DNA samples. In that 600 included 356 or more African Americans, and the rest were a different makeup. He was definitely doing his homework, but he downloaded pictures of this girl off of her social media site on the day of the murder, that night, and then the next day, and then the days that follow. I mean, that's too coincidental also. It doesn't prove 100% guilt, but the DNA, what he did, his actions, how he confessed and knew, the police don't take somebody into custody and make them say things. He said all of the things that were done to her. He said he punched her. He was mad and he punched her and punched her and punched her. He went for medical attention a day later, the next day, because his hand was so messed up, and he had a piece of her tooth fragment lodged in his hand. That doctor's report from the hospital, sunny downstate, came back and was presented as evidence. He punched her, and she had bonding on her front teeth. Her front teeth were bonded, and that's why they cracked. And the piece of the bonding, the debris, it said typical boxing injury, and fragments from a tooth were found in his hand by the treating doctor. Too coincidental, guys. Too coincidental. So everything points at him, and everyone that goes on that he's innocent thing is going for the race card. They're saying because she was white and he was black, that the police wanted to just get their guy. And that's a bunch of BS. I know it for a fact because I worked for that very police department for 20 plus years. And we didn't racially profile when it came down to evidence and the homicides. Everything was done top notch. That's why New York City police detectives are the greatest detectives in the world. They're not just called the greatest detectives in the world because they're just because. It is because they are. And everything that gets done is done top notch. I'll put it to you this way. If God forbid one of my family members were murdered, anybody, friend, family, anybody I cared about, I would hope, and I would hope that it would never happen, but if it was to happen, I'd want it to happen within the New York City Police Department jurisdiction. The reason I say that is because I know that they will go to the earth's end to get their suspect. I know that they'll use the most modern, up-to-date technology, the most advanced police methods, the most stringent and up-to-date training these guys get, because I know, I used to go to it. This is, if I had a family member murdered, God forbid, or anybody who was near and dear to me, I would hope that the New York City police detectives were on it. Okay? Nowhere else in the world can you get that thorough of an investigation, that much resources, that much unlimited funding for there's no oh, the detective's on vacation or the detective went home for the day. There's always a detective that is there and working on the case 24/7, 365 days a year, around the clock. There's never nobody on the case. So Kathy, your question is just, I don't have the answer to it. I don't have the answer to it. You know, there's a lot of people that play the race card, and I don't know this to be true. I don't know 100% that it's the 100 Men in Black law enforcement, but I did see them with the family. I saw the president of that organization, who's a retired detective. I saw him in a suit and tie the day I went with my own eyes. I know who he is. He was with the family, and he was consoling them. So, I don't know. I don't know. So, anybody else have any other questions? Anybody else have any other questions? DNA found underneath her fingernails of the defendant, 800, that the skin DNA was 800 billion to 1 that it is definitely Chanel Lewis. The phone DNA and the DNA around her neck was 9 trillion to 1 Chanel Lewis's DNA. 9 trillion, not million, not billion, trillion to 1 definite match to Chanel Lewis and nobody else. The chances of it being somebody else was 9 trillion to 1. Trillion. So, what I will say is the defense attorneys in the first trial did a very good job of swaying the jurors and giving reasonable doubt. However, the new jurors in the new trial are not the same makeup, obviously. They're an older grouping of people in their 50s and 60s, and I think one of the girls or two of the girls are in their late 30s, around 38, 39. I saw them right in front of me. They were right in front of me. Legitimately, I could have reached over the front row. I was in the front row. Because of my credentials, I was able to sit with the district attorney's office personnel and some of the detectives. I sat right in the front row where the lawyers and district attorney and the police sit. So I could have reached over and touched one of the jurors. That's how close they were to me. I watched them listen to opening arguments, and I saw the looks on their face, because don't forget, I'm a trained professional to observe. I was not looking at the district attorney giving his summation for 2 hours. I was looking at the jurors, seeing how attentively they were listening, the expressions on their face, and I saw deep concern, especially from the jury foreman and the women. The women were just like, they were making facial expressions like they were just, grimacing, and it was a good vibe for me to feel that as a detective, as a law enforcement professional, because I had a great feeling that they understood the severity and what was happening there. So let me look at some of the questions. I told you guys I would take some questions. I get sidetracked because I'm so passionate about this case. I want to see justice for Karina. I want to see justice for Karina Vetrano and Phil, her father, and Kathy, the mom. I had a conversation with Kathy in court. I don't know the family personally, but I had a conversation with her and her brother and her sister, and I spoke with them. I sat in the front row. They were right behind me. So I spoke to the mom, and she thanked me up and down for my service, for what the warrant squad did for her family, and what all the detectives in the city of New York did for her family. So she took my card. She has my business card. And this is a family that was torn apart by one summer day, one regular routine summer day. The daughter was to go out and jog. The father had a bad back problem. He suffers from back issues. He couldn't go out for the run. These things take time, Terry. That's just how it is. There is no verdict yet. If there was a verdict, Linda, we would be speaking about it. And there's definitely no verdict. Did you know them prior? I did not know the family prior. I had heard in one of your replays that you mentioned that. I just got to meet the family on day one of the new trial. I spoke to the mom. I spoke to the uncle. I spoke to the mother's brother and the sisters. I spoke to the whole family in the row. And she had concerns that this filthy animal was staring at the victim's mother, and he was doing it. So I spoke to the court officers, and they sat a court officer. The defendant was sitting here. They sat a court officer so he couldn't look at the victim's mom. Hi, Nikki Mack. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hello. Welcome in. Hey, Joey, Nikki, everybody. Hope everyone had a good weekend. So this is the jury staying in a hotel? No, Kathy. I think you asked me that once before. They are not sequestered. They are not. So hope everyone's doing good. I appreciate everybody hanging out in here. I'll take 5 minutes of questions and answer. So if you want to give me some question and answer, go ahead. If you're new watching from outside the country or from inside the United States, if you're new, let me know where you're watching from, and I'll shout out your city and state or your country. What level of criminals get swabbed? Any level of criminals could get swabbed. Any level. There's no rule for that, MJ. But anybody can decline it unless you're indicted or there is serious, unless the detectives have serious concern that you did commit a crime. So you can get a court-ordered DNA. DNA can be ordered by the court too as well. So yeah, I mean, most of the times it's in some of the heavier cases, but a simple assault case you could get DNA from that. You're welcome, Meg. Thank you for thanking me. I appreciate it. Nikki Mack, how was your weekend? I miss you. I miss you being in on the channel. I know you've been busy, but I hope all is well with you. Where is the defendant originally from? I noticed his mother has an accent. I want to say they're from Haiti, but I don't 100% know. But they live in East New York, in Brooklyn, which is the next town over. Justice for Karina, yes. Did you ever meet her dad at another precinct under an unrelated issue? No, Winky, I never did. The guy confessed, so why did the jury have trouble finding him guilty? Sandra, your guess is as good as mine. The defense was able to create reasonable doubt. The defense says that the police coerced. They made him give the confession by keeping him at the precinct for 12 to 15 hours, and then he finally gave up the information. Great to see you too, Nikki. Great to see you too. They said that the police coerced the confession, and he gave 2 confessions, by the way. And during those 2 confessions, he told things that only a person that would have murdered her would know. These are not things that just can get made up and can be coincidental. I have the confession up on my replays. If you look at some of my past uploads, I uploaded the full confession to the district attorney. The defense says a lot of things because it's their job to try to get their person off and a not guilty verdict. That's their job. That is standard. I've held people in the interview and interrogation and in the cells for 18 hours at a time. 12 to 18 hours is not abnormal amount of time. I had jury duty once out of it because it was 2 hours away from college. I said, no, and they excused me from it. Yeah, a lot of times they'll excuse us from school. Hello from Northern California. Good to see you. My husband's family's from upstate Cortland. It's cold up there. It's cold upstate. Similar murder at a University of Texas student on a campus a few years ago. So sad. Praying for the family. Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Little Dove, thank you. Tani says, I see no coercion. There you go. Somebody else used his phone. Nobody else used his phone, Susanna. I mean, do you know that somebody else used his phone? Somebody else with his DNA used his phone? And then killed her and left it at the scene? Oh, you mean used his phone? Somebody else used his phone to do those searches? He He told the detectives that nobody else has used his phone. That was asked to him. Interrogations aren't typically 20 to 30 minutes. They aren't. They are not. Joey, good to see you. Artie's mom, how are you doing? Welcome in, Artie's mom. That makes them an accomplice to the felon, but that's not the case, so we're not even going to talk about that, Lisa. I'm not about conspiracies. You'll never get a conspiracy theory out of me because I deal with just the facts. Just the facts, people, because of my profession. I don't really mess around with conspiracy theories. I think they're ridiculous. That's just my opinion. Whatever happens to Chambers, Robert Chambers, that creep, he's still in jail. I think he's still in. I don't think he got out. I think he got out and then went back in. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. It's a joke, Little Dove. I mean, it's laughable. Hello from Lake Wallanapack, Pennsylvania. Welcome in from Pennsylvania. Thank you for joining. Let me see. Joey says, any predictions, DutyRon, on how long it's going to take to convict? This week, there'll be a verdict. This week, there should be a verdict. Did you play the good cop or the bad cop? It depends. It depends on what night. It depends on what night you caught me. I was usually the good one, though. I was usually the good one. The preppy killer. Yeah, yep. I know who you're talking about. I met the victim's mother at a fundraiser. I met the victim's mother at a fundraiser. She was a very well put together woman and very smart. I met her at a fundraiser. I don't recall her name, but I was there as a police officer, and she was at a fundraising event, and there was a high-ranking police official there, and we were protecting him. I was in the dignitary protection unit. So I was there at a fundraiser, and the victim's mom, I actually met her. I spoke to her. A nice woman. Terrible. Jennifer Levin. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yep, I met her. So, anyways, yeah, that was a terrible, terrible crime. Terrible. And I remember the video that he made when he was out on bail with the doll. Remember he was at that video at a party, and he did the doll with the head and turned the head off. What a creep. What a real piece of shit, you know? You have a stern face, so I don't think you would have to be, oh, you would, okay, there you go. I'm not really that mean looking. I'm just ugly. It was another jogger. Anyways, he is out as far as I have heard. I don't know. I haven't been following him, Cindy. I don't know. If he's out, then that's a travesty of justice. The pajama party. He was with some other girl, and he was twisting her doll, and he freaking turned the head. What an animal. You're welcome, Madeline. My pleasure. My pleasure. I try to do the best that I can. Do you think New York should bring back the death penalty for crimes like this? 100%, Michael. And they should get rid of Mario Cuomo. Bring back George Pataki. I loved George Pataki. I thought he was a great governor. You're not ugly at all, says Tarlia. Thank you. Do I owe you $5 for that? Did I owe anybody? The next super chat I get, I'll have to give it to. I'll have to give it to her. Tarlia, you get the next super chat. I'll have to redirect that to you. Thank you, Happilea. Thank you. Chambers pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 5 to 15, so he was out. He got out. Released in 2003. What a piece of crap. I thought that he got out and then he committed another crime and went back in. DutyRon, are you going to go back to court again? Yes, I will, Sheila. I will. I'm going to try to catch them when they come back with the verdict. I want to try to be in the courtroom when they read the verdict, but it's going to be hard to know that because it could happen at any time. But I live only 15 minutes away from the court. So if word gets out, if my friend, my source there tells me, hey, get down here, they have a verdict, I'll come running. I'll go racing down there. So, yeah, check it out. I think he did go back, Tori. I think he did go back on like a parole violation. Thank you, Tarlia. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, Jade. How is your sweet pup doing? Top Cop, he is sleeping. Little Oscar, that little bastard, he's sleeping. Smells like corn chips. He corn chips the whole house up, that little guy. So, anyways, I am close. Tanya, I'm close to the courthouse. I could be there in 15, 20 minutes max. Hold on, the chat's going quick. My adopted dad used to be a cop in New Zealand. His wife went to work in corrections. My dad has passed now, but I love your straightforwardness. Reminds me of him. Asta, I'm glad. Your dad sounds like a wonderful man, and may he rest in peace. And thank you. I'm glad that I bring a little bit of memory of him back to you. He had good vigor to him. I hope it's the right verdict this time. I do too, Dana. I do too, Donna. You should get word in time. I hope so. So, Jussie Smollett, guys. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's turn the gears a little bit. I don't have a lot of information on Jussie Smollett, but I do know this. I heard tonight on the news that Chris Rock at the NAACP Awards he was told not to say anything about Jussie Smollett, but he said something about him. And I commend him. He really didn't say anything too nice about him. He made a joke like, really? Are you kidding me with this? Yeah, NAACP Award. I'm going to look for a video of that. Was there any video on that? Do you know? Jigsaw? Let me Google that. Chris Rock. As soon as I put Chris Watts comes up. Chris Rock on Jussie's. As soon as I typed in Chris on my Google, Chris Watts came up. Isn't that funny? The Chris Watts case came right up. Here we go. Let's play this. Chris Rock rips absent Jussie Smollett. Does anybody want to see this? Can I get Ron's email, please? DutyRon@AOL.com. Does anybody want to hear this? Let's give this a try. Here we go. Hold on, guys. I didn't hear it myself. I didn't hear this myself, so let's take a peek.
Jussie Smollett did not win at the 50th annual NAACP Image Awards. He was up for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series for his role on Empire. Now, while we didn't see him, that doesn't mean Smollett wasn't on people's minds. That became evident during the second half of the show when Chris Rock took the stage to present the award for Outstanding Comedy Series, which was won by Blackish.
They said no Jussie Smollett jokes. Yeah, I know. What a waste of light skin, you know? You know what I could do with that light skin? That curly hair, my career would be out of here. Running Hollywood. Yes, no, just... What the hell was he thinking? From now on, I ain't never gonna know you're Jesse from now on. You don't even get the you no more. That you was respect. You ain't getting no respect from me.
I stand with Jussie. So Rock made fun of Smollett, and Yara Shahidi, who stars on Blackish and Grownish, threw her support behind the Empire actor. But the vast majority of the show focused on the winners and the honorees, and not.
Ugh, I hate that. Let's see if there was any more. Chris Rock. It's just all Chris Rock. I don't like to beat a dead horse here. This is just Jussie Smollett. What a waste. What an idiot. Really stupid. You walked by John Gotti on Canal Street in the 80s in Manhattan. Almost walked right into him. It's a good thing you didn't walk right into him, Michael Dennis, because you might not have been here today. Look at what happened to the guy who ran his kid over. It was an accident, and they never even found him. The guy's just gone with the wind. Jigsaw. You know how these people, they don't want anything that's negative. When you're giving out awards for the NAACP or whatever, they don't want that stuff. So they told him, don't say anything. And he was like, screw you, I'm doing it. In 2008, Chambers pled guilty to selling drugs. He was sentenced to 19 years in prison. His earliest release date is 2024. I knew he was back in. I knew that he got out and that he screwed up. And now he's still in prison. So there you go. I was right about that. Sometimes I'm not right, though, and that's why I was a little questioned about it. But you saw what I said, Tori. I thought that he went back. I thought that he did go back. I didn't want to waste any more time on Jussie. Me too. That's why I cut it off quick. I just, all I wanted to say is that, it looks like he's not out of the woods. There may be a chance that he's not getting away with it. He will always be a joke now. But you know what? Some of these actors in Hollywood are going to stand by him. And shame on them. Because I'll tell you this right now. Me as a person who I am, I will not support anybody that defends this guy. If there's an actor and I really like him or her, and she's doing a movie and I find out that she or he is supporting Jussie Smollett, I won't go and pay money to see the movie. I won't. I won't watch Fox if Fox still has him on that program. The feds don't take it light. They don't take it light. And I know that for a fact. I've worked with the feds. Now, you guys all say and hear, oh, the feds, they come after you. They're really, I've seen them in action. I wouldn't want the feds coming after me. I'll tell you that right now. Because if you get 10 years federal time, you do 10 years. Not 9 years and 5 months. Not 9 years and 3 months. You do 10 years. Guaranteed. 10 years you do. Yeah, I hope that they do. I hope that they do. If he's hired on TV, I won't be watching. There you go, Rick Winters. There you go. Welcome in. This is like the first time I'm seeing you in here. Welcome in, Rick. They move in. I wouldn't want them coming after me, Tori. I wouldn't want them coming after me. I'll put it this way, Tori. If the feds came after me, if the feds came after me, I would send them to you. I'd say, go get Tori Hartman. I'm innocent. Go get her. I sent him to go get you. I don't think that they're going to. Fox is not going to allow that, I believe. I hope you're right, Kim, because if they do, I won't be watching them anymore. Listen, if they're single, send them to Tori. If they're married, don't send them there. She doesn't want nothing to do with it. Tori is a straight shooter. Literally. So, me, I love football. I played football in high school. I love football, guys. When the football players, and you guys might get mad at me for this, I don't care. This is just my opinion. When I saw those guys taking a knee, although I believe that the cause, police shooting unarmed black kids, that has to stop. Obviously, I'm not going to start that conversation, so let's not go there. But when I saw that happening, when I saw NFL players who were being paid millions and millions of dollars taking knee on my national anthem, I had a real big problem with that. Now, there's some that will beg to differ with me, and I respect it. I don't get into arguments over it. But I do not watch the NFL anymore. I don't watch them. I don't watch the NFL. I don't watch any more NFL games. You know what I do? I watch like the recap on the news. I catch the news. And that's it. So, you know, again, like I said, there you go. Go, and I say this to the NFL players that were taking the knee, and the Colin Kaepernick and all these guys. Go and march with Black Lives Matter and all the people who are protesting and all the movements on your time, not on the time that we want to see you perform on the field. And I don't want to see you disrespecting my country. Don't disrespect the people who died for our flag by taking a knee. Stand up, and then on your off time, go out and march with these people. If it's that much of an interest to you, go out and march with those people. So, I don't care, Kim. It's my broadcast, and I'm talking about it. I'm not going to go into the whole topic, but I'm just saying that's the same premise that I would take up with Jussie Smollett. That's the same premise I would take up with Jussie Smollett. If they hired him back, and if people are backing him and saying what he did was right, then I can't get behind that. I can't get behind it, you know? So, you know, and I, like I said, I respect everybody's opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. I'm not here saying this is how it's got to be. I just don't watch the NFL anymore. I don't watch them, and I won't ever watch them. I won't. So, it is what it is. It is what it is, guys. What do we got? How many people are here? Is there 84 people here, or are there 97? One of my devices, my computer says 84. This device says 97. I don't know what to believe. Can someone give me a count? Because I don't want to leave if there's 97 people here. But then again, I got to go because I got to go to sleep. So it's almost 1 o'clock. 95. Jeez Louise. I hate to leave 95 people hanging. Anybody else have anything that they want to say about Karina Vetrano? Yeah, I see 97, now 95, whatever. Anyways, anybody else have anything to say about Karina Vetrano? If not, Addie's mom, thank you. If not, please follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, @DutyRon. My website is DutyRon.com. I'm going to be putting some new content on there this week. Go and check out my website. Subscribe to my social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. If you can find all those links on my website, DutyRon.com, I'll be covering this case, Karina Vetrano, during the course of this week. Good night, Tori. Thank you. Love and respect to you. Everybody go subscribe to Tori Hartman before she leaves. Give Tori Hartman a subscription. Hit the notification bell. She is full of joy and wonderment. She's a good woman. She's got great information. I hope to meet her. If she comes to New York and I don't get to see her, our friendship is over. I'll tell you that right now. I'm only kidding. But I hope to get to see you. If you have time, I'd like to buy you lunch or something like that or whatever. But if you don't have time, I understand totally. But I would love to see you. You're going to be the Queens Hotel where you're going to be for that that presentation or whatever whatever you're doing as a guest. I literally live 5 minutes from there, 10 minutes from there. So I'm right there in Queens. It's close by. Yes, everybody have a great night's sleep. Kim Francis is still telling me there's 92 people here. Thank you, Kim. Veggie Vibes, yes, indeed. DutyRon, I sent you the email on the link for tomorrow's court. Thank you. I will check on that. it. Good night, Jigsaw Puzzle. So let me just say this. I appreciate all of the positive interaction. I appreciate all of your guys' different views. I love that you guys respect each other in the chat. It's the only way that I accept this kind of stuff. I don't like to see any bickering or arguing. If you don't agree with what someone says, take it up with them on a sidebar, like on a DM on social media. Do it one-on-one. It's a little better way of doing it. And I thank you guys for all being really good friends. Most importantly, the Super Chat, the Patreon supporters that I have. My Patreon grows almost every week. I gain a couple more people on the Patreon. I greatly appreciate that. That helps me to keep the channel growing, for me to put in the hours, to put in and buy extra equipment, cameras, and all kinds of craziness that I do. So thank you so much for all that you guys do. Love and respect from DutyRon. Everybody have a great night, and I will talk to you during the week. Look for some of my stuff. I will advertise it on Twitter before I go live. So look for some of my tweets about Karina Vetrano, and if I'm at the courthouse, look for me on Twitter. So go subscribe to my Twitter, @DutyRon. Peace and love, guys. Good night. Can't stop watching NFL. It is what it is. I can't watch them at all. They suck. So good night, everybody. God bless, and I will talk to you soon. Peace and love.